This episode of Brains on Games is all about holding the best festival. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and like I said, this episode is all about holding a festival. In fact, the game is called Festival. This is a game that was sent to me by Paul Dirks over at Tamed Beast Games. They're a company that makes family-friendly games with large player counts. And we've got a game here that can be played by between 3 and 7 players. It's for kids age 7 and up, and you can play a game in about half an hour to 45 minutes. Let's take a look at Festival. This is a game that's going to hit Kickstarter in the spring, so this is kind of an advanced preview, and the pieces, the artwork might change a little bit once the game actually comes out, but you can see you've got some festival stages, you've got the village and the city and the palace, and what you're trying to do is collect sets of cards. The cards are musical instruments or members of a choir, and the cards are what will earn you victory points in this game. You can see the victory point track here around the outside of the board. What you're doing in this game is moving around the board and collecting cards in order to form those sets. You've got a huge stack. This is only a part of the stack of cards here, but if you move your figure to the village, you can draw 2 cards. If you move all the way out to the country, you can draw 3. You've got a maximum hand size of 7 cards. So once you get to 7, you're going to be discarding cards in order to get back down to that hand size. And you're trying to collect those sets that will allow you to score some points. What happens though on the board is that you can only move 1 space in either direction. So once you're in the country, you can get back to the village. The village can move to the city or to the festival stages. In the city, you can move to the palace or back outside. In the city or the village or the country, all of the players can be in those spaces at the same time. There's no limits to the number of pieces that can be in those areas, but you do have only a single player unless you have a large player count. If you've got 6 or 7 players, there's a second space here in the palace. There are festival stages that number 1 less than the number of players in the game. So it's a little like musical chairs when a festival starts, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Your pawns are moving around the board, collecting the cards, trying to gather those sets. In the city, you draw a card, but this is also where you can play cards for points. So if you've collected some sets, for example, you've got the tenor and the bass and the baritone here for the male choir, then you can play those down and earn some points for them. Each of the cards will earn you 1 point. There's 3 points if you played the complete set. You don't have to have the whole set to play a card. You do get bonus points, though, if you're able to play the complete set. And the choir is the only one where there's a superset because there's a female choir as well, the alto and the soprano, and you get 5 bonus points if you play all 5 of those cards. Luckily, you also have a minstrel, and the minstrel acts as a wild card. Now, you can't use the minstrel to make up an entire set, but you can play the minstrel as a member of your choir or as a member of the melodic group or a member of the percussion group, and that will allow you to complete the set and get the set bonus. Unfortunately, though, there are also dragons in that deck of cards. You might draw a dragon, which would cause you to lose a card, or 2 cards in this case. This is the bigger, stronger dragon. The dragons will cause you to lose a card from your hand, and that happens at random. You don't get to pick the card that you lose. At the beginning of the game, players are going to be just moving around the board, collecting those cards, trying to earn those points. Once you get to the 3rd round, everybody's had 3 turns, you start to flip over these cards over here in the festival deck. I flipped one here that says preparation, and that means that you're just preparing for a festival. You don't have to do anything on that round that's special. Everything plays as normal, but eventually, let's see, you're going to hit, there we go. Eventually, you're going to hit a festival card. Once that happens, players can then move to the festival stages. Like I said, it's like musical chairs. If you've got 3 players, like I've set up here, there are only going to be 2 spaces available for them to move to. So 1 player is going to be out of luck. You can get to the festival stage from the city or the village, but if you're stuck in the palace when that card is turned or in the country, you're out of luck. On the festival stage, you can play cards to earn points just like you were in the city. At the end, though, you draw some cards that are going to give you bonuses at the end of the game. The player who made it to the festival stage first gets first choice of those cards. And in this case, you could get 7 victory points at the end. The symmetry bonus gives you bonus points for sets that you've collected with this picture. In this case, you can see there's hopefully you can see there's a tambourine on there. That's the percussion group. If you've got a set of the percussion group, you're going to get 10 bonus points at the end of the game. You're going to keep playing until you've had 4 of those festivals. That'll be the last turn in the game. And there's one extra thing I should mention. The palace is another special spot because you've got a whole deck of palace cards. The palace cards give you bonuses as well. You might get the governor card that allows you to have a larger hand size, which can be very helpful. You've got a patroness who would allow you to take extra cards when you're here in the city. So you get to draw 3 cards instead of just 1. You've got a knight, and the knight allows you to disregard. In fact, you discard the dragons when they pop up in the deck. You've slain those dragons, and then they won't come back and harm you later on. You can only hold a couple of those cards at a time. In the beginning few turns, you can only have 1 palace card before that first festival happens. The hand limit in this game is what makes it more of a hand management game, because you have to be careful. When are you going to play those points? Are you going to drop some cards to get a few extra points before you've collected a whole set? Are you going to wind up discarding cards because you can't use them right away, but you've got that full hand limit? You are using those executive functions in those cases. You're weighing probabilities and trying to think ahead in terms of what's going to be the best play for you to earn the most points. The other thing that you're doing is you're literally preparing. When those preparation cards are piling up, you might be thinking about, how can I make sure I end my turn close to those festival stages so that I can get one of those spaces and earn those bonus cards, the finale cards, those special ones that give you the bonus points at the end of the game. So those are definitely executive functioning skills. You're planning ahead and you're using some of those working memory skills. Working memory, right, is the whiteboard in your memory where you hold on to information to juggle data and to juggle those probabilities. What is going to work best? Whenever you're doing those cost-benefit analyses, you're using that working memory. You're using those executive functions. And that's what the hand size limit forces you to do. And that is Festival in a nutshell. A quick, family-friendly game that requires that planning ahead and those working memory skills in order to manage your hand and to collect those sets of cards that are going to earn you points at the end of the game. Thanks to Paul Dirks at Tame Beast Games for sending this over. And as usual, if you'd like to get in touch with me, if you have any questions or suggestions, you can find me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where previous episodes are posted, and future episodes will go up there too. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.